Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Wednesday. It's August 30th. This will be our chart lesson for today, and pretty strong rally again today. It took off really strong early on, and looked like it was just going to be another runaway rally, kind of like we had yesterday. But we found some resistance, and man, the thing sold off really strongly, and then struggled to go back and retest those highs again by the end of the day. So we did close pretty much close to the end of the day here. We'll flip over there and take a look at it, but you can see it here on um, the daily chart. We're still heading to retest those highs, what it looks like to me, and so that's my expectations. We could pull back to retest this midline, and we push through there so strongly we may just keep going. But generally, once you push through that EMA, which or 21 bar EMA, you would expect prices to pull back and test that before they really take off. Maybe that won't happen this time. We'll see. But that generally will. You will get a pullback. Just like when we came through here. Notice we pulled back twice, actually three times before it dropped. And then same thing here. We pulled back, tested it when we pushed through, and we haven't pulled back to retest that yet. So there's a good chance that will happen, but we'll have to see. So there it is on the daily charts. We've had four straight strong rally days. My expectation is that we're probably going to try to retest these highs. So anyway, let's flip over to the 2000 tick chart, take a look, and go through those trades. And here it is. You can see we really struggle with this resistance around 45.28 to 48, probably 45.30, somewhere in that range. And we pretty much closed on our high here. We haven't quite closed yet. We got maybe 7 minutes before we close. So my guess is we'll probably close very near the high, if not at the high here. We could turn back down. We're a little bit away from the EMA there. But just looking at the big picture, it almost looks sideways today, which it is. Lots of mixed trade. This is what you call mixed trading. It was a uptrend for a good bit of the day, then it was a strong downtrend, then another uptrend. Mixed trading is just sideways when you're up and down, you're above and below the EMA. What you like to see is a trend where everything stays consistently above the EMA. Yeah, it may pull back momentarily and break below the EMA, but it's just for a bar or two, and then it's off to the races again. That's the kind of trend you like to see. Kind of like what we had yesterday. Look how this was mostly all above the EMA. A couple of times we pulled back, went below it momentarily, but for the most part, the EMA's up, pointing up, and we're above it all day. Here, look, EMA's up, we're above it, down, we're below it, up, we're above it, down, we're below it. That's mixed trading, meaning we're trading in both directions and getting strong trends and moves in both directions, and so forth. We did have a couple of news items this morning. They were at 7:15 to 7:30, so I kind of blocked that out there as usual. Excuse me. So I did block that out there, and so you really couldn't start trading till almost 8 o'clock this morning. Let's zoom in here a little bit. And you could have already had your trend before 7 by the time you got in this morning. Just start off those first two swings. Sometimes I started at the low. I think I originally started at the low, but it looked like it fit better later down here. So keep that in mind. And we didn't really have a range here, but we had strong support. And you can see that support there. I mean, there was a bunch of tests right here. The only reason I didn't like this one, this is a possibility. Maybe you mark it green, but it's right at, look how many times we've, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, 6, 7 times we've tried to go higher and couldn't. So it worries me about that one. And notice it did go a little higher and it comes back again before it continued to work higher. And then there's not a setup over here. So I think you're better off to skip those. Then you get you make a new high here. You get a first entry and then a second entry with right off the key entry point with a 6-tick bar. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. Take that trade. It's very low risk. It's a second entry with the trend. Plenty of room back to the EMA. It does come back and test the trend line here. Makes a high or low, but no setup there. And then it comes back and makes a failure right here, right off the EMA with a nice bar. It actually breaks lower and turns up. I like going long having, on the engulfing bar, you could wait for it to close and go long one tick above it. If you did that, you might have had to wait for it to pull back and then go higher, because it gaps over and just keeps going there. So it would be hard to probably get in that with a buy stop unless you entered above this bar when it broke higher, and that would have been the easier way to do it there. We just keep going up, and you can see this has turned into a really strong trend here. So any signal bar almost that comes back to the key entry point. The only reason I didn't mark this one is because it's right into what I look like the highs up here. I really thought we had an overshoot here, and maybe we did, but when you back out and look at the big picture, we still came back and made a new high by the end of the day before we sold off some more. So maybe that wasn't an overshoot. Maybe the channel is really like so. It still fits there, although I think it fits better in the other spot. To me, it looks like an overshoot. That seems to fit really well on both sides and the midline. So it looks like an overshoot, but we still made a retest before it was over. But you get a close outside, move to a new high, then you're just chopping sideways. Again, you got a triple test here with the nice bullish bar. It actually broke lower and turned up again. That's another one I like, going long one tick above that on the engulfing bar. And you're just trying to get a scalp. I mean, it could continue to go higher. Maybe this midline is wrong. Maybe I have this upper line or trend channel line is wrong and it's much, much higher. So that's always a possibility there. So when you get that triple test, when prices couldn't go through that EMA 3 times, and you got that support across there too, you're probably going to make a new high. You're probably going to at least retest this high. So if you got room, which you would on an engulfing bar, to get out, take that trade. And then you can see it runs up here and it finds resistance right back at the original trend channel line and gives you a very bearish bar. You're taking a chance here going short right there, but notice you got this channel, you got a break, and you do get a couple legs up to a new high. It's a little risky, but notice it's a perfect measured move from what I call the first leg here, and then you had this big two-legged correction, and so perfect two measured legs really. So I think that was worth just trying to get a scalp out of it. It's aggressive. You really need to be a good chart reader. This is not for new traders. Most new traders, I'll tell you, don't try to pick tops and bottoms. But when you get really good as a chart reader, you might try some of these because but most of the time, most people are going to be better off waiting and entering with a trend and skipping this trade. And I did mark it green for that reason. And then it just is off to the races. You never really get a secondary chance to enter this. But again, just like over here, by the time it gets down here, it's obvious this is a very, very strong trend. So any signal bar that's bearish at the key entry point, you just about can take it. I marked them all green because they're aggressive and it's a lot more advanced. But look at them. Every one of them is a very bearish bar right off the key entry point, except this one when we got the break. And again, you still expect the same outcome, it to take off lower. And if you'd taken any one of those, you might even count. That's not a signal bar, though. It doesn't make a new high. This one. So these are really not signal bars. Neither is this one. This was the signal bar. So, and it really wasn't that clear it was going to be super strong until we just kept going down here. Then it reverses, and you get a first entry short right there. You push up, come back, and get a second entry short that fails. If it breaks above that bar, it's probably going to take off. Your hope is that it takes off like this. In this case, it doesn't. It's just like a spike and a channel. It still there's still some selling. People are still trying to go to the downside, but in the end, we were going higher here. So, but anyway, we run on up. I would really call this your to me, that really looks like that's correct right there. And that's your first close outside right here. And you try to go higher once, twice. It fails, but I'm really leery of a failure right there. It's not really where you're looking for a reversal. You're looking for that down here. So you just sit tight, and then all of a sudden you get a triple test with it actually goes lower and turns back up. You get a very bullish bar here. You could trade that on the engulfing bar, or you could wait till it closes as long as you got room to get out between here and here, then take it. And you do. You actually get another second entry here, but you don't want to enter on a range um, that close to the highs. So you want to try to get in down here. Of course, it runs up, fails on the breakout. There's actually a second entry short right there, but there's a channel right here, and that's the first break of it. So I'm very wary of going short right there. It's too early, in my opinion. You could end up going higher still. You are a little ways away from the EMA, and you could look at that as maybe congestion, a little failed breakout, but there's not much room to here. It's one you might argue for green. I think you're better off to skip that one. That one could fail real easily. We run down, we get a break, and we try to come back and test this level, but we just can't. We just keep working sideways, and then boom, we're off to the races. And this one's tempting as a breakout, but we had a few tries over here where we couldn't get through the midline, and you may not get through here. So, I mean, this trend line is not confirmed. It looks good. You got a couple of bars closing just above it there. But again, if it would have broke lower and turned up, maybe you go long on an engulfing bar right there. But by the time you get here, I think it's moved too far. Again, it's one you might say, okay, it's worth the risk. Maybe you take it. I think I would skip it. This thing just takes off, then works its way back down to the trend line again. And this is really a second entry right here. By the counts, it's first, second, third, but this is a double top. So first entry, second entry, I like going long right there. You get another reversal type pattern here, but it looks a little congested. Again, it's one you might go long right there on. And the way you would be able to do that, you got a new swing low here. It's lower than this last one's up here. And you get a first entry, and then you get a second entry short. So when it breaks higher right there, it's a failure. And this is what you call a reversal on a continuation pattern, a trend that continues. It's not, you're not looking for a reversal at a low or high. You're looking for a failure on a continuation pattern. That's a lot more advanced. So if it doesn't make sense to you, don't worry about it. It's way too advanced. It'll just confuse you. Stick to the second entries like this one right there. That's a gimme right there. And then you run to a new high and you get a one leg back and then two legs back. Even though this made a higher low, that makes this only a first entry, but it's still two legs back to the key entry point, the EMA, and it's all still holding. If I break above that, I'm going to go with it. And you can see it's a quick, easy move. And then we get a hidden second entry back. And again, that's more advanced. I marked this green. If you don't understand a hidden second entry, don't worry about it. But basically, you went down, up, and down again. And if you went to a little bit smaller channel, you'd probably see down, first entry, down, second leg down, second entry long when it broke above there. And that's all we're really doing. And I call that a hidden second entry. We basically make a double bottom. You try to go short once, twice, and you actually try to go long once, twice, three times here. So you could really call that really you could get more than a triple test out of that. We've tried to go, this might be part of a different one, but you could easily go 1, 2, 3. And it's a second entry short with a big bearish bar. So maybe you go short right there. I like that one. Like I said, this it's looking like we're going to find resistance back up here at the measured move again. And of course, we drop on down here. Finally get a break. You get a first entry, second entry, nice signal bar. I mean, those are gimmies. Same thing, you make a new low, first entry, it went higher again, and it actually went higher again still, but it hadn't turned lower again yet, so the second entry trigger's right there. So another second entry short, and that's also a first, second entry failure. So you got them probably trapped to the long side. You can see that big, huge bar tells you had them trapped because it runs everybody's stops. They run, and once those stops have all been run, the buying comes back in and the selling dries up. And next thing you know, it's going higher again. You don't want to be trying to pick a bottom down here. No reversal on this one. There's just not really a good chance to get in this one. If this would have broken lower, yeah, you could have used that for a reversal. But runs up, you get a break, first entry, and then there's another second entry long, and you're expecting a retest of the high of this. So another second entry setup, runs to a new high, and then next thing you know, we're going lower. There is a failed second entry long here, but and this is a reversal area where we'd be looking for one. I didn't mark it because it's really late in the day, and it didn't quite get back to the what looks like the trend line. Maybe I don't have this drawn quite right. Maybe it was more like so. So it's another one maybe you take. But being that late in the day, I'm wary of a failure at that location right there. So there it is. Kind of a wild and crazy day, and we're probably, as we continue to go higher, we may get more of these. So just be prepared and be ready for it in case we do. But anyway, not much else I can say about that one. I'm going to get this uploaded early today, get my day done with. So anyway, that's how I saw it today. I'm going to wrap it up. This is Matt with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.